Lindsey Graham, of all members, except maybe that weird guy from Florida, Randy Fine, who's like openly endorsing genocide, Lindsey Graham, of every member of Congress, can be relied upon at every public event, every photo opportunity, every time you run into him on the street, to be calling for the murder of somebody. Killing is the point of Lindsey Graham's political career. Trying to convince the rest of us to get on board with killing when we won't, screaming at us and calling us names, and you're the hater because you're not on board with killing this or that person. It's all about killing people. I want to give you a second example. This is Lindsey Graham, who's from the very beginning been a staunch supporter of really one of the most brutal dictators, let's just say it out loud, in Europe in 80 years, and that would be Zelensky, the unelected dictator of Ukraine, who's basically devoting half of his life to extinguishing Christianity in Ukraine. All of us are supposed to ignore that, but it's actually happening, putting priests in jail, killing his political opponents, murdering critics. That's happening right now. Lindsey Graham, of course, loves him because he's doing a lot of killing the right people, as Lindsey put it. Here's Lindsey Graham in a conversation with Zelensky. And sorry, another parenthetical note. Graham and Zelensky, both of whom are hardened warriors who run around in military uniforms talking about how tough they are, neither one will ever sit for an interview that isn't a kiss-ass interview. I've made about 100 requests to each of them. No. So they interview each other. But here's Lindsey Graham talking to Prime Minister Zelensky about killing. Watch.
Free or die.
Free or die.
Now you are free.
Yes.
And we will be.
And the Russians are dying.
It's the best money we've ever spent.
Thank you so much.
The Russians are dying. It's the best money we've ever spent. Again, just encouraging you to think about what you're hearing for a second, because all of a sudden we live in a moment when a lot of people are espousing violence. It's funny, a year ago, if you had asked, a year on election night, if you had asked a lot of Trump voters, like, why are you voting for Trump? They would give positive reasons. I really think that the American government should serve American citizens. I believe in America first. But they would also, I think, say, I'm really afraid of the other guys. And two of the things that bother me most about them is they don't believe in free speech. They're constantly pushing for censorship. And their rhetoric is violent. They're encouraging violence. They encourage the BLM riots. They encourage violence all the time. And yet, a year later, here you have all these leading Republicans doing, what are they doing? Oh, demanding censorship. Should be fired for saying that. You shouldn't platform someone, meaning you shouldn't let them talk. And you shouldn't be allowed to talk to people we disagree with. All of a sudden, we're in charge of who you talk to. That's not totalitarian or anything. I can choose who you talk to. And we're going to just openly say that people we don't like should die. Should die. And here's Lindsey Graham taking joy in, and I'm quoting, Russians dying. Best money we ever spent. If you can spend money to make people die, that is money well spent. You freak. By the way, it's not, here are the 5 generals or 10 generals or list of people we think are responsible for war crimes in the Donbass. Okay. I mean, we can debate whether they are or not. Probably not, but maybe they are. And you could say the person who committed the crime is being punished. But Lindsey Graham, who has a completely non-Western understanding of justice, is saying because they are in this group, they must die. So that's the distinction. And this is the actual fight. It's a fight between people who understand justice the way that Christians understand justice, which is on an individual basis. We punish the guilty. We punish the person for committing the crime. We don't punish his kids, people who share the same last name or live down the street from him or look like him or are somehow related to him, speak the same language as him, because they didn't do anything wrong. We don't punish the innocent in Christianity because we believe in the human soul, the individual soul. We don't think we're judged as a group. We think we are judged as individuals. We'll stand alone before God to account for what we did. Not for what our kids did, not for what our grandparents did, not for what our neighbors did or our countrymen did or our leaders did, but for what we did. And that is the basis of Western justice. And it's being abandoned. And without a fight, because people don't understand what is happening, But make no mistake, the attitude that you just heard from Lindsey Graham is an Eastern understanding, a non-Christian understanding of justice. The Russians, what does that mean? What Russians? Just Russians. They're dying. Best money we ever spent. So you're watching two things. You're watching someone who's embraced collective punishment, as Israel has, as most of the world has. By the way, it's not just Israel, and it's not just Lindsey Graham. It's most countries at most times in history believed in collective punishment and collective reward. You're the favored group. You're the Tutsis, and you get a better deal or whatever. You're the chosen people in whatever society or religion, but you're the Brahmins. You get, because of your DNA, a better deal. The diversity, DEI, affirmative action, they're all species of the same kind of thinking, which is collective thinking, which denies the reality of the individual human soul. And it is therefore anti-Christian. And the entire West was set up as a bulwark against that kind of thinking. And that's why it succeeded. And that's why it's been free and prosperous and happy. And people like Lindsey Graham don't acknowledge that. And instead they worship death. And he has, as noted, a long career of doing this. This is not a conservative principle. This is not a Christian principle. This is a left-wing, atheist, agnostic at best principle. This is the I am God, I'll kill whom I want, when I want principle. And it's been on display his whole life. On January 6th, Lindsey Graham said to a Capitol Hill police officer, "You guys have guns. Why don't you shoot them all in the head? I wish you had." Shoot them all in the head? These aren't Russians. These are Americans. These are like 60-year-old ladies with pocket constitutions in their handbags and diabetes and bad knees who thought their election was stolen from them because they believe in the system. And so they marched on the Capitol. They didn't know at the time that there were like 230 FBI, whatever they were, agents, provocateurs, that the whole thing was managed. Some of us sensed that immediately. Lindsey Graham could find out. Maybe he has. He doesn't care. Those people, in some cases, lured into this trap, allowed into the Capitol by security. That's on videotape. We're not guessing. Those people should be executed because what? They made him scared, and he was scared on 9/11. Talk to his colleagues. I have. Lindsey Graham was terrified. Lindsey Graham is a physical coward. Of course he is. All the chicken hawks are. That's why they don't fight the wars, but they're also victims in this. When you call for the deaths of others, when you regard other people's lives as meaningless, when you think it's the best use of federal tax dollars to murder them, as he does, you become more afraid for your own life. It's always true. Dictators are always paranoid and afraid. They're never brave, ever.
It's great that, like I've said before, many people in America are now waking up to this new reality that their country is not as democratic as they might have thought. You know, when you are a young person growing up, going through the educational system, the way you are being taught about things is quite different than the way things happen in real life. All the preaching about the rule of law, democracy, freedom, peace, liberty, and how America is a champion of all is just a smokescreen. Now, let me be clear, because I always like to be objective and fair with my critique. The Americans in America have a certain degree of freedom, of liberty, of justice. They do. But when it comes to their foreign policy and what they do to other countries around the world, it is totally different. those countries are not afforded the same level of liberty, peace, and freedom like those in America. America's foreign policy towards other nations all around the world has always been about what benefit America itself. People like Lindsey Graham think that they can just go all over the world and take whatever they want. According to them, the world's resources belong to America, and so they can just take it whenever they want. It was the same Lindsey Graham who said that Maduro should be taken out. I mean, the president of Venezuela should be taken out and their oil should be taken from them. I think this other guy, Jordan Peterson, also said that most Arabians don't deserve the resources that they have under their own soil. He called it undeserved wealth. How can you say that people who are living in their own land, the land of their forefathers, don't deserve whatever it's under? Whatever that is under the land, don't deserve it. So we can just go in, we the Westerners, we from the quote unquote civilized society, can just go there and grab whatever we want. That's what they do. And then you hear them say that we want peace for everyone. We want everyone to live peacefully and happily. And we want democracy to be applicable all over the world. That's what they will say, right? Then you look at them staging wars. You know, if you're someone who is naive and just watch their mainstream media like the CNN, the BBC, the Fox, all those things, right? What they say there will kind of like be appealing to you, because what they say on air is quite different from what they do in real time. Like they will say that we are going to Venezuela to liberate the Venezuelans from their authoritarian leader, Maduro, Nicolas Maduro. That's what they'll tell you. And you'll be like, wow, that is great. You know, if America can go in and liberate Venezuelans who are being persecuted by their very, very horrible leader, Maduro, then it's a great thing. That's what most naive people, people who know no better, would say. But if you just bother to look, to re-examine all the so-called interventions that they have been doing all over the world, you will see that it was never about intervention. It was never about helping the people of those countries that they quote unquote intervened in it. It was never about any of those things, but rather about control, about stealing of resources, and about making sure that the military industrial complex have somewhere to do business. In the case of Ukraine, the military industrial complex in America is making billions. Because remember, those industries need clients. And in order for them to have clients, there have to be wars all over the world. There must be a way for them to sell their produce, which is armory. So there would cause confusion one way or the other. They will. And that is exactly what they are doing in Ukraine. No matter how Donald Trump tries his best to bring an end to the conflict in Ukraine, the military industrial complex and the so-called neocons won't want to see it happen. They want the war to continue. People like Lindsey Graham, who has no children, who has no one in the war, is praying or is promoting, is encouraging Zelensky to continue with the war, continue with the fighting. After all, it is not like his children are dying in the war, is it? The people dying are relatives of other people. Those are the people who are dying in the conflict. I'm sure none of Zelensky's own direct relatives, like maybe children or brothers, are fighting in the war. If they are in the military, they will not be foot soldiers. They will not be where the fighting is. They might be in the command centers. I'm sure about that. I'm sure that most of the foot soldiers, most of the people who are on the front line are not even directly related to Zelensky. They are the ones who are dying. So why would they stop the war if they can sit in their own homes and make demands and give orders? Why would they stop the war? This is terrible. This is really, really terrible. And I just hope and pray that people wake up and realize this. The human soul is way more important than any other thing. For some reason, people don't value humans anymore. And they think that lands or forests or whatever are more important than humans, and they will fight for it. It's quite a shame.